So we got some much overlooked maintenance that needs to be done on this Champion generator. This is a inverter generator at model 200914. Of course, they probably have so many models that probably is worthless because yours is probably going to be different. But the valve adjustment, this is very critical. I think you're supposed to do it every 500 hours. We're not sure. We should have looked it up, but we're kind of just winging it. So look up in your manual to be sure, but you're supposed to do it way more often than we do it. So basically you just take off the valve cover. Oh, this is an open frame generator. We're doing this because it's an open frame. Let me tell you, if this was a suitcase generator, we probably would not be doing this because they're just a hassle to get into. So here's your valve cover. We're just going to crack these off. Just hold right here. So what happens is when your valves start closing up or getting out of adjustment one way or the other, in this case, this one is backfiring when we turn the generator off. If it's hard to start, that could also be a sign that your valves need to be adjusted. So a lot of bad running generators could be just a simple fix of adjusting the valve. All right, that just pulls right off. You have your little gasket in there. That's a nice rubber gasket, not one of those little cork ones. There you go. I'm actually going to pull the spark plug. Hey, that was already taken off. Must be magic. Make sure that spark plug's tight. All right, so you have two rocker arms. You have your exhaust and your intake. And the way you can tell the difference is your intake is by the carburetor and your exhaust is on the exhaust side right here by your muffler. Now you can try to find top dead center by taking your spark plug out and feeling for top dead center, but that's really hard to do because when you pull your cord here, it kind of goes way more than it doesn't turn slow, let's just say it that way. You could probably take your recoil cover off and turn it with a socket, I suppose, to get it to move slower, but basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to get one of the rocker arms. Let's see if we can go. Okay, there's your exhaust. The exhaust just went down all the way. So that's what you want when you do one of them. You want to do the opposite. That one, your exhaust rocker arm went all the way down, and now your intake is loose. And that's what we want right there. So the intake is, let me double check. Intake is 0.006. So we're going to get our 0.006 right there. Let me come back over to the side. And we're going to slide that in there, and it will not go in there. So it is a little bit too tight. All right, so I'm going to do this. You could do this with a wrench and a socket. I'm just going to do it with these two wrenches here. So this one is a 14, well, roughly. It kind of fits a little bit loose, but it'll work. And then a 10 for this one. And we're going to loosen the small one right here. We're going to crack that just like that. And that's your set, the nut that keeps everything in place. The big one back here is what is actually adjusting the rocker arm. So we're going to turn it to the left a little bit to loosen it and tighten this back up. And we're going to check it. Okay, now we're actually pretty close. It'll slide in there, but it still feels just a smidge tight. I want a little bit less. I don't like the way this wrench feels. There we go, okay. So I'm not going to loosen it very much. Oh, let's see, which way did I go? Yep, I'm going the right way. You don't want to loosen this small one very much, just a little bit. Because it can be a little bit difficult to get it right where you want it. Okay, still tight, so I didn't. Okay, now we're talking. Still feeling just a little bit tight. Get in there. Okay, now we've got a little bit of resistance. I'm going to make sure it's not too big of a gap. Let's stack a 4 and a 3. And let's make sure that those, see if those, okay. Those two will not fit in there. So we are, I would say, perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and tighten the, make sure it's nice and tight. I don't know the torque settings, but I don't want to tighten them too much. Nice and snug. All right, now we go to the exhaust side. We'll pull the starter recoil here. There we go. That one's all the way, the intake is now all the way down. Exhaust is nice and loose. And it's actually good that it's loose, because if they were really off, then that would be tight. All right, 0.008 for the exhaust. And it's not going, it's not, oh, barely, it'll barely fit, but it's a little bit tight. Okay. Oh. Alright, let's just loosen that just a little bit there. That might have been too much. Okay, that's actually feeling pretty good. Let's do the same thing. Let's put a little bit bigger one in there. Let's see where we're at. Stack a 5 and a 4 and see if that'll go in. Nope, we're not going to go snug. All right, that is it. Now we'll put this back together. Actually, I'm going to wipe that. I don't know if it really matters. It probably doesn't, does it, if that has oil on it? Does it matter if that has oil, if the gasket has oil on it? Mr. Cameraman.
I'd probably wipe it.
If this was a big car, we'd wipe it.
I would wipe it, for sure.
And that's all there is to that. Put that back on. Put your bolts back in. And one thing that we forgot to mention, optional, but if you take your spark plug out, it will be easier to turn the engine over. It'll be a little smoother. So be sure to look in your manual, look up the torque settings, look up the feeler gauge, or what side, what you should be gapping your valves, the rocker arms at. I told you what this one was, but yours could be different. I don't think these have to be torqued, so we're just going to kind of snug them up. It's just a rubber gasket. And I should have gone from corner to corner, but you know. There you go. Put that spark plug wire back on. Click. Bam. Done. That's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Alright, today we're talking about Bitcoin. Dude.